State Rep Price Wallace is joining us now on SuperTalk Mississippi. It's nice to meet you, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Good to meet you, Scott. Thanks you for asking me to be here this morning.
So let's just start with some of the obvious stuff. I mean, there's a special session that's going to be required. How much progress is getting done behind the scenes today?
That's a very good question. You know, I haven't really heard anything. I do know that the powers to be are having meetings. Uh, I'm hear that today's possibly going to be maybe the last meeting. We might know something next week, but that's not for sure.
So what seems to be the holdup?
It's the capital expense money. You know, the funds that we ask for our local area for projects that needs to be done. And, the lieutenant governor just, was not wanting to spend those funds. Well, and I understand some of his reason, but like where I'm at, it's very rural. I don't have a whole lot of industry in my district. And, my little small towns have things that they need done, like infrastructure help. I have one little small community here that the community house, which happens to also be the voting precinct, is and this needs some major repair done on it. And, I put in requests for funds to help them, fix their community house up. I mean, the citizens use it, like they'll have family reunions and like, it is very historical because it is the original town hall building for the city of Delo. So, it's things like that, that not only just me, but other members in the house that live in rural areas and doesn't have a lot of industry, for your taxes. Like, those funds come back to help our people, help our areas. And so, I feel like they need to look at that. And, I understand, you know, they're worried about what might happen from Washington as far as cuts and things. But, we have the funds. We're not going to use all of them. We just wanted some of them. So I think that's the
Well,
biggest holdup.
well, and it's so important, and I think it's great for the state to eliminate the income tax, but that does create some concerns about the money that you have and how it's spent. And infrastructure is got to be a big priority. I'm glad you mentioned that. I saw the story last night of a bridge collapse in Franklin County. Infrastructure is crumbling not just in Mississippi but around the country.
Oh, that's very true. Very true. And, that's one of the reasons why in our tax bill that, we put in a 3 cent gas tax increase for the next 3 years. And that gives, MDOT some money that they need to keep our infrastructure going. And, I know people say, well, you don't need to raise gas tax. Well, you get people passing through here, especially in my area, that's going to Florida during the summer. Those people are from out of state, and they're contributing to our tax base, but they're traveling on our roads and they're tearing them up just as much as the local folks. So I don't have a problem with that 3 cent gas tax because it's going to go to uh, improving our infrastructure, which that, like I said, definitely needs to be done.
Well, and around the country, there's also a debate about property taxes, which have grown out of control in some areas, but that's a large part of the local tax base as well.
That's very true. Ours is high. Um, I live on a farm, but yeah, my property taxes went up. Has gone up practically every year.
Yeah, and if you own a farm, I mean, you've got so much land that your taxes are probably going to be a little bit higher, and we've seen how the agricultural industry in Mississippi has been suffering the last few years.
Oh, that's true. You know, on ours, like your forest land is not taxed as much as production land, although it's still considered a farm. But if it's in production, it's taxed differently, which everybody knows that. But then, like in my instance, I'm a poultry farmer, so I have poultry houses sitting on my farm, so that makes my taxes even higher.
So, I'm coming in, returning to Mississippi for the last 3-4 months since I've been guest hosting here on Super Talk Mississippi, and re-familiarizing myself with politics in the state. And I don't mean to put you on the hot seat, but it seems to me, coming in from the outside, like a lot of the holdups in the legislature have come from the lieutenant governor's office. Am I seeing that wrongly?
No, sir. No, sir. But the majority of the holdups has come from the lieutenant governor's office.
Um, eh, can we put the finger on why that might be?
I, I can't, and I don't think there's many other folks that can either. But somebody knows what's going on. Somebody can put their finger on it. But I definitely know that I'm not that person.
So, as a farmer, and especially since you've got chickens, I mean, we talked to the ag commissioner a few weeks ago when I was guest hosting on the show. At the time, I was concerned about egg prices, which have come down. Chicken industry is an important part of the state revenue, of the state exports. Have you seen an impact coming in from tariffs, from what the federal level, the Department of Agriculture is doing for that industry?
I haven't because I'm in meat production of the poultry side of the business, and I contract with an integrator and raise their chickens for them. So as far as the tariffs going, I won't see it. Uh, I do know that right now the chicken industry is they're moving a great amount of product. I just recently sold um, last week my 6 house farm. They come and picked them up for production. I'm getting my birds back next Friday, so that's a short window of time that you're out. When you're out a short period of time, like in here from 12 to 14 days, that means they're moving a lot of meat. Now, when it starts spreading on out there to like 21 days, then you kind of know that they got plenty of meat and they're kind of cutting back on production. But right now, they're producing as much as they can.
Talking to State Rep Price Wallace here on Super Talk Mississippi. I've got Dr. Lance Evans on the show later this hour. School choice has been a hot issue in the state as well. Will we see that legislation move forward?
I think it's going to come back next session. You know, I don't know. I'm for school choice. I mean, I think that if there's a school in the area that's doing better than where your child is going, you should be able to move that child to that better performing school, whether it be uh, public or private or charter. But then I also say this, that the school that they're looking at sending them to should be able to say, yeah, we can take them, or no, we can't take them.
Yeah, and I think it's important to continue providing parents with those options in their child's education to continue the improvements that we've seen in the so-called Mississippi Miracle.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just saw on the news this morning that the third grade readers, I forgot what the number was, but I mean it was their test scores were just way up this time. I mean, so uh, I commend our educators and the work you're doing. It's showing when people around the nation is starting to notice what's going on in the state of Mississippi with our education. It means we're doing something that's doing it right, and we're doing it right.
This is our first date. I wanted to wrap up and let you tell us what's happening in Rankin County, Simpson County, what's happening in your area right now and for the summer.
Well, right now, we're going through graduations. Kids are getting out of school, they're starting their summer break. Um, we're, uh, a matter of fact, we're having our fallen officers memorial service today here at 1:30 in Simpson County to honor those men and women that have given the ultimate sacrifice to keep us safe here in the state of Mississippi. So Then just getting ready for a special session whenever we find out when that's going to be.
Good luck with that. We need to move things forward. On X at Price Wallace, it's great to meet you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
We will talk to Dr. Lance Evans here in about 20 minutes on Super Talk Mississippi. I'm Scott Sands.